Now it is time to populate our website with text. To insert a test, simply go to Toolbox and understand that select the text object tool, click on it, draw on an empty space in your canvas. In this case, I'm going to copy a text I'll be using and paste it right in here. Now let's move the text to this particular layer. Make sure the text is in the center of the layer. Now let's double click in the text and change the style of it. If you can remember, we created some form of styles, and this is when it is going to be needed or used. Highlight the text we have here, and we are going to change this. Click on the drop down arrow under styles. Scroll down and let's select Lato 12 white. Now let's highlight this and change this to Lato 16 white. Let's expand this text a little bit and let's make sure it is in the center. Now let's add additional text to this particular layer. Come back to your toolbox, click on text, draw on an empty space. I'm going to copy my text I'll be using for this one, paste in right here, and move this to this layer. I'm going to expand it a little bit and change the style of it. Under style, click on the drop down arrow and let's select Lato 16 white. I'm going to align this to the center and take off this spacing below. I'll make sure it is right in the center both horizontally and vertically in this particular layer by using the guides. If you saw that, let me do it once more. As you can see the guides, it's telling me it is right in the center of that particular layer. Now let me go ahead and add a button to this particular layer. To add a button, let's go to Toolbox and at Drawing, let's go to Shape. Draw on an empty space and let's change the settings of this shape. Double click in it. Under my type, I'm going to select Round Edge and change this to 6 pixels. Under the background, I'll change this to solid and change the color to white. Under border style, I'm going to change this to 0. And when I come to text, I'll type in my text I'll be using. In this case, I'm going to type in Read More. I'll highlight this text and change the size to 11 pixels. I'll change the color to gray. I'll leave the rest as it is and I'll check this, use anti-alias text. Then I'll go ahead and click on OK. I'll resize this to 140 by 35 pixels. Then I'll click on it and bring it into this layer. I'll make sure I align it left to this text. I'll move it a little bit to the bottom. Before we move on adding text to the other pages, we are supposed to add some form of text here. I'll go ahead and copy my text and bring it here. I'll paste in my text and move it right into this layer, making sure it is centered horizontally and vertically. I'll then double click in it and change this to Lato 16. So I'll change this to Lato white 16 and change this one also to Lato 16 white. Now I'll go to my other pages, the About page, and make sure I add my text here as well. In this case, I'm going to copy my text and paste it here. I'll move it to the center vertically, double click on it and highlight this text. I'm going to change this to Lato 10 white and I'll change this to Lato 16 white. Copy more text, bring it here. I'll make sure it is centered horizontally and vertically. I will click on it, change this to Lato white 16. I'll copy my other text, paste it here, move it to this section, making sure it is centered vertically and horizontally. Now I'll double click on it and change this to Lato 16 white. I'll go ahead and add the text at the bottom here. In my case, I'm going to copy the text and paste them here. You can go ahead and type in your text or insert in your text from anywhere you want to get your text from. So I'll copy my text and paste it here. I'll move it to this section and I'll make sure each and every one of them is going to be in the layer 2. So I'll move this to the center, this one as well, this one, this one. I'll then go ahead and double click on it and change this to Lato. Let me highlight this, change this to Lato white 10 and change this to latitude 11 white, or change this to latitude 10 white, this to latitude 11 white, change this to latitude 10 white, and this to latitude 11 white. I'll do it one more time. Change this one as well. Now I'll move on to my service page. Come to the site manager, hit on my service page, and I'm going to copy my test and bring them here as well. I'll move them here, and I'll make sure each and every one of them is going to be in the layer 2. So I'll position this way, this one as well, and this one also here. I'll then double click in it, highlight this test, and change this to latitude 11 white. I'll then go ahead and change this to latitude 16 white. This to latitude 16 white. This to latitude 11 white. I'll do it one more time. This one as well. Then I make sure the alignment is aligned center. To do that, I'll simply highlight all the tests and come to alignment and select center. I'll do it for the others. You can go ahead and do yours too. It looks like I have some white space in here, so I'll go ahead and reduce the size of this layer. I'll make this 190 pixels. The height is going to be 190. And I can move this manually with the guide, help of the guide. I'll do this as well. Now I'm done with the service page. Before moving on to the portfolio page, let me copy this test and bring it here, paste it in this layer at the top, making sure it is centered horizontally and vertically. I'll double click in it and change the test to our services. You should make sure that this test is centered. Let's go ahead to the portfolio page, and over here I'm going to only paste in the test in the header, and here I'm going to paste in the test in this particular layer. I'll go ahead and paste my test. I'll move it to this layer, position it in the center both horizontally and vertically, and change this to our portfolio. Now I'm done adding the test to my home page, my about page, my service page, and my portfolio page. We will continue more on the contact page in the next videos.